Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then welcome to my channel. I hope you like and subscribe so you can see future videos with Murders and Chill. That would be great. So, today we are going to be talking about a true crime case that is actually going to be a four-parter because of the craziness that it is. Because I'm going to be talking about the Murdoch family. The Murdoch family, they are located in Hampton, South Carolina. Now, these people are rich, like richy rich. They have properties. They have one property that's like thousands acres, and they have, boats and planes and all this other stuff. But they think themselves above the law. So we're going to tell the stories about the Murdoch families because in 6 years, there were 5 murders. They were all linked to the Murdoch family. So I think it's important that with each video I have that I speak about each victim, so then that way they get the amount of time that a person should get in a story, basically. So, let's start off with the Murdoch family. So, immediate Murdoch family is Father Alec Murdoch, Mother Maggie Murdoch, oldest son Buster, youngest son Paul. Now, Paul and Buster, they had kind of a rough childhood. From what I've seen in the Netflix documentary, it's called Murdoch Murders. I'd check it out. It's very good. But so anyway, Buster and Paul, brothers, Buster tended to kind of get more attention than Paul. He wanted to follow in his parents' footsteps, go into the law firm that they, all had. This law firm was the Murdoch law firm. They've had it for over a century, and he wanted to go into the business. So they were all very proud of him. He got into law school. He was just doing great for himself. But Paul, he was kind of like the black sheep of the family. He would just, do whatever. His parents didn't even really expect much from him, too. Like, they would just kind of let him do whatever it is he wanted to do, because if he actually really did anything bad, they were in charge of the law. They are in charge of judges. They have a lot of power in Hampton, South Carolina. They could make things just go away. So, when you're 14 years old and you have that kind of power, you can get drunk. No problem. Your parents will probably even give you alcohol. They would look the other way if he just would come home drunk. Wasn't a big deal to them. However, it will be a big deal in a little bit. Moving on. Now, Paul had some pretty good friends. He grew up with 2 men by the name of Connor and Anthony. They were great friends growing up, and then he also had a group of friends that were girls. Their names were Mallory, Morgan, and Miley. 3 of them were best friends growing up. I think it was Miley who said that Mallory actually went up to her, gave her a compliment, and that the rest was history. They were the 3 M's because, all 3 names started with M. And they look like they have such a good support system, and that's important as a woman growing up. For me, my support system is my sister. I have other girlfriends too, but my sister is my support person. If anything ever happened to me and I needed a shoulder to cry on, I would lean for my sister. You need people like that growing up. Anyway, so it ended up that since there were 3 boys and 3 girls, they actually all ended up being a couple. So it was Miley and Connor, they were a couple. Mallory and Anthony, they were a couple. And Paul and Morgan were a couple. They were all, coupling, being cute and all. They, grew up in high school. They went to prom together, and Morgan ended up just kind of starting to see Paul's true colors, starting to see how, drunk he would get. His friends would go ahead and call him Timmy because when he drank so much, he had this alter ego kind of thing. So they said that he turned into a totally different person and they would just call him Timmy because he was acting crazy, basically. But, after being with him for a while, she was just in love with Paul. She was with him for 4 years, and then after a while, she finally got the courage to go ahead and break it off with him. And her friends, Miley and Mallory, were so supportive because it's so upsetting to go ahead and feel so in love with somebody, and then when you have to break off, it can be very jarring and make you feel very lost. And Miley and Mallory were just good friends, and she talked about Mallory in particular. She would say Mallory would just do silly things to make her laugh every day, to try to be extra, and would send her messages, uplifting messages. She would say things like, "You don't need him, you have us," kind of thing. And like I said, good friends. It's what makes life livable. Anyway, so they're all still talking to each other, though, and Paul's still kind of trying to weasel his way back into Morgan, too, I think. They're going back and forth, but he's still weaseling, but she's just kind of like, no, leave me alone. She's being strong. Good for her. But they're all friends, and at this point, Paul wants to have all of his friends, including Morgan, go to what is called an oyster roast, which they have, in the winter months. And Paul wanted to take his father's boat and get everybody on the boat and just, go on the river to the oyster roast and just have fun. First, he used his brother Buster's ID to buy beer. I'm not sure if it's one of those things where the clerk, was just like, oh, okay, this looks right. Or she saw the name Murdoch, didn't want to bother. Either way, not good. Moving on. So from here, gets in the car. They get on the boat. They go to the dock to get on the boat. This is about 8 o'clock at night, so they're going on the boat, They all kind of start drinking a little bit, but Paul's really starting to do funnels and all this stuff. He is going to town a little bit more than he should when you're driving a boat, but okay. And so they get to the oyster roast. They're all hanging out, having a good time, whatever. And then he drinks more. They get back onto the boat, and it is getting, chilly and late, and, the current's pretty strong. So they're kind of like, you know what, we should go home. It's probably a good idea. But no, Paul had another idea. He decided that on the way back, they wanted to go ahead and stop at a bar at about 12:55 at night. They wanted to just stop at a bar. Okay, so they pull over the dock, they go to the bar, then they get back on the boat. At this point, Paul is drunk. So drunk. Ridiculous drunk. Not okay drunk. Anthony had actually said that if he could do it all over again, he would have taken himself and Mallory, in an Uber or gotten the group to, go on an Uber to leave, but he didn't want to, just take Mallory and leave the rest of his friends. So Anthony's a good guy. My heart aches for him. Anyway, so they all get back on the boat. Paul is driving even more erratically, just going crazy, just, zigzagging, going in circles and doing just all kinds of stupid stuff. And all of the people in the boat are just telling him, okay, you need to stop. Why don't we have somebody else here drive? Because you obviously have drank way too much. We've drank, but we have not drank to your level. You are drunk. You should not be doing this. Stop. And he gets all mad and he's like, it's my fucking boat and I know this river, blah, blah, blah. You ridiculous child. Anyway, so they're doing all that, and Morgan actually comes up to him too, thinking, hey, she dated him for a while, maybe she can go ahead and kind of calm him down, kind of, get to a good area. And Paul responds in yelling at her in the face, slaps her in the face, and verbally abuses her in front of all their friends. That poor girl, her testimony in the Netflix documentary, it breaks my heart. People make mistakes in this world, but nobody deserves anything like that. And it's so sad she had to deal with that. Anyway, so everybody's really mad now, with good reason, because everybody's getting crazy. And then, all of a sudden, with all the nutty things going on, Paul decides to just book it in this boat or whatever, not even caring anymore. It's dark, it's cold, there's a fog, strong current, nothing. He's pretty much not paying attention. They get to Archer's Creek Bridge, and they hit a pylon underneath the bridge, which caused Mallory, 19-year-old Mallory, to fling from the boat into this cold-ass, strong current water. And everyone is in disarray, it's chaos, and people are hurt, but Mallory's in the water. And Anthony goes into the water to help save his girlfriend, and he's trying so hard, and he's just like, how did I come up? And he didn't see her, kind of thing. And he's swimming and, diving, trying to find her, doing all this stuff, but he's getting exhausted, and you can't go ahead and swim when you're exhausted because you will drown. So he finally gets on land, but everybody's in disarray, just saying, where the fuck is Mallory? Because they cannot find her. She has not come up. Nothing's going on. And even though Paul doesn't like it when his friends or anybody calls 911 in these certain hard situations, because it would look bad on the Murdoch family if attention was put on them. Good thing Connor didn't care, because Connor went ahead and called up 911, gave them the whole situation, and they came to their location to go ahead and help these kids out. So when they all are on land, Paul is excited to go ahead and get to a phone so that he can call his grandfather, tell him everything that went down. And it's like he still had a smile on his face, because what ended up happening next was Anthony turned right around and was like, why the fuck are you smiling? My girlfriend is in the river, blah, 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 blah. He was pissed. Good reason. It's a girlfriend that you love, and she hasn't come out of the river. And he feels awful and just riddled with guilt, and it's so upsetting, and I felt so bad for him in that moment. And next, the ambulances came and took all of the children to the hospital. Well, they're not children, they're grown adults, but they're young adults. They get into the ambulance, but Anthony stayed. He didn't want to go ahead and leave. He said he couldn't leave Mallory. And like I said, it just broke my heart when I heard that. Then they all get to the hospital, and, each person is in their own room. Everyone keeps asking for an update on Mallory. They don't even care about themselves. They're just all asking, how's Mallory? What's going on with Mallory? And they're just saying, we don't have an update, but we need to address your injuries first. So hospital's working on the kids. And then at one point, Randolph Murdoch Sr. and Alec Murdoch, grandfather, father, they get there as fast as they can, and they go in front of Paul's room and tell the police, we are representing, him, you may not talk to him right now, he is drunk, not okay, blah, blah, blah. And so they basically had his back. And then during this time, oh, this made me so mad, so mad. Paul told his family that Connor was driving the boat. He threw him under the bus. Funny, we're talking about boats and buses, but you get my deal. And I was just like, I cannot believe this boy. You are a boy. You are not a man. You are a coward. What is wrong with you? I couldn't believe it. Anyway, we move on. So at this point, the father and grandfather are going to each, kid's room, each young adult's room, and basically telling them, shh, don't say anything, we're going to be okay, kind of thing. Like, being super shady and sketchy and ridiculous. And then later on, they come up to Connor and just say, hey, we'll represent you. Just don't say anything. It's okay. Pretty much implying that they know that Connor was driving the boat. Worst people imaginable. And then at one point they tried to knock on Morgan's window so that way they can come into her room to give the same spiel to be quiet. And Morgan, smart girl, tells nurse, do not let those men in my room. And you know what? Love it when people are smart. She is so smart at just, especially at this point, because what they were going to try to do was go up and represent her, and they were going to act as her acting guardian. This was before her parents even showed up. Sketchy. Terrible. Luckily, all the rest of the parents were able to show up and, see their kids, and, it's just so sad that Mallory's parents weren't able to see her. They weren't able to see that she was okay. Oh, God, it's sad. Anyway, so time goes on, and the kids are basically on the mend. They're doing okay. They hadn't found Mallory yet at this point. They're still searching with rescue team. But luckily, they did find her. They found her a week later. Good Samaritans did come across her body, and her autopsy ruled as blunt force trauma and drowning. Everyone was just broken. They were so sad. I mean, it gives closure to the family to be able to find your loved one, but oh God, that family, I can only imagine having a child that you love so much to watch something like this happen to them. And it breaks my heart that some 19-year-old spoiled piece of shit went ahead and did this and made this happen for this 19-year-old girl. This girl had so much going for her. She was this beautiful, sweet, kind girl. She was, wonderful with Morgan. When Morgan and Paul were going back and forth, she was going ahead and making herself silly and fun, and she did everything she could do to make Morgan smile every day, and just gave her all kinds of support when her and Paul were on the rocks, and was just saying you could do better than him, you can live without him, kind of thing. She was the type of friend everyone needs. She was this She was in pageants when she was a little girl, and she liked to play baseball, and she loved her friends Morgan and Miley, and when she grew up, she wanted to be a veterinarian. And now she won't ever get to be a veterinarian. It makes me so mad that Paul did this. We move on. So, given that Connor was basically accused now by the Murdoch family of driving the boat, Connor's family ended up getting a lawyer of their own. Thank goodness. Now, what they did was they found a biomechanical engineer, and basically what they do is they kind of do like a simulated dummy type thing, so you could see where each person was sitting, and when the crash happened, it can show you pretty much physics, like, you know, if the crash happened this way, then, you know, this kid would have been going this way, this kid would have been going this way, kind of thing. And it proved, no matter which way everything looked around, that due to physics, Connor could not have been driving the boat. So, forensic science. Paul, you suck. Liar. Coward. Anyway. So at this point, now he has to go to court. Good. He has 3 charges. 1, a DUI with death results. 2 counts of BUI, boating under influence, with great bodily injury. So 3 counts of charges. Let's go to the court. This was 3 months after the accident. Let's see what happens. You know, you would think justice needs to be done. So here we go. So they go to the court, and the lawyer, you know, is defending him and says to the, you know, judge, hey, we are pleading not guilty, and we want to do a personal reconnaissance bond of $50,000, which basically will go ahead and allow him to not have to go to jail. There's no cuffs. He is not in jail. There is not nothing. He just has to promise to appear in court in his trial. And it worked. There's no justice. No justice in this point for Mallory. It's so maddening. Because then, at that point too, they didn't even have a trial date. So great, you can come back for your trial. When's your trial? Who knows? So much for justice. Ridiculous people. I hate the system. I truly do. These people are an awful family, and they find ways to just get things swept under the rug so that way there's no blemishes on the Murdoch legacy. Fucking terrible people. I can't believe that they did this. At this point, since there's no trial date, Paul's just going back to his antics. Back to his shenanigans. He is drinking heavily, and he is speeding on the road and just being an all-around stupid child who is not accountable for his actions. Stupid rich person. It's fine to have money, but live in the real world. Don't go ahead and try to have some legacy to go ahead and think that you're above the law. You are not God. You are not anything. You are not anything godlike. You are nothing. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. Don't be awful. Anyway, well, that is part 1 of this installment. This is the story of Mallory Beach, the 19-year-old who passed from a useless, unnecessary murder. It's a DUI, yes, but she was killed. She was killed by Paul Murdoch. There's no any way to look around it or, you know, talk about nothing. I don't care. In the end of the day, he killed her. That girl did not deserve this. But don't worry, more is coming to this story. And like I said, each video needs to go ahead and sort of go in depth into who each person was. So that's why I wanted to do it this way. So then that way each person can get their story told well. So I now just want to thank you all for watching my video. I hope that you found it informative and that you continue to watch my future videos. But in the meantime, stay weird. Be safe.